So a bunch of American doctors are trapped in Gaza and dying of dehydration ever since Israel closed the Rafah crossing. They gained control over the Rafah border. They've closed it down. They're not letting aid trucks in and out. But it's not a genocide, they try to tell us. It's not a genocide. So Ryan Grimm has been doing some really great reporting on this. I want to read from his Intercept article. I know Ryan and I have had our differences in the past, but when it comes to this particular issue, we are very much on the same page with the reporting that's going on and the discussion about the Palestinians. Here is the Intercept article. American medical missions trapped in Gaza facing death by dehydration as population clings to life. Upward of 20 American doctors and medical workers are trapped in Gaza as a result of Israel's post-invasion closure of the Rafah border crossing into Egypt, according to sources with knowledge of the plight of two ill-fated medical missions. So Israel gained control over Rafah crossing. They're not letting aid in and out. They're saying it's not a genocide, but they're not letting even water in. We've seen the videos of right-wing extremists taking control over the aid trucks and damaging all of that, but they're not even being let in from through the Rafah crossing at this point. Goes on to say Israel has blocked fuel, food, and water from entering Rafah for over a week, leading to severe dehydration among the general population as well as among doctors on mission. Relatives of the doctors were told by the State Department that rescue efforts were underway, including through coordination with the United Nations and the Israel Defense Forces. Yet on Monday, the Israeli military fired on a United Nations vehicle that was traveling to the European hospital in Khan Yunis near Rafah, killing a UN employee who was an Indian national and injuring another. Let me just go ahead and show you that vehicle. So you can see this is a UN vehicle that was shot at. The IDF says, oh, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. Well, it was shot at multiple times. You saw the UN vehicle. It was marked. The UN said that they have notified the IDF of all of their movements. The vehicles are clearly marked. They knew this vehicle was on the move. They knew where this vehicle was going, and it was still shot at multiple times, not once, and oops, oh, that's a UN vehicle. Don't shoot at it. Don't fire at it. No, it was shot at multiple times, and the driver was killed. And yet the Israeli Defense Forces say, oh, it was an accident. We didn't get the memo that you guys were moving from one spot to the next. Either way, you see the vehicle, it's marked, it says UN as clear as day on it. Goes on to say that among the stranded doctors is Adam Hamaway, a plastic surgeon and Army veteran from New Jersey. While serving in Iraq, he was on duty when now Senator Tammy Duckworth's mangled body was brought into the hospital after her helicopter was shot down. She credits him with saving her life. So Tammy Duckworth, the senator who, by the way, has received over $750,000 from the AIPAC lobby. So she's in bed with the AIPAC lobby. This is partly her fault. The doctor that saved her life is now trapped in Gaza dying of dehydration. The IDF won't let water in. And this is what our politicians pay for. On Tuesday, Duckworth said that she was in touch with Hamway and was working hard to secure his group's immediate evacuation. She tweeted this out saying, I'm in direct contact with Dr. Hamaway, and I'm working hard to secure his group's immediate evacuation. Aid workers and innocent civilians should always be protected. The Netanyahu admin must work to open the Rafah crossing, support evacuations, and allow much more aid in. Again, she has taken $772,541 from the pro-Israel lobby. So she's part of the problem. I want to show you this. Ryan Grimm actually asked he sat at the State Department. They were doing a daily briefing. Ryan got a question in. He asked about this. This is what they had to say.
We're at the European hospital in Khan Yunis facing dehydration. At least one of them is on an IV drip now. Our understanding is that relatives have been in touch with the State Department, U.S. administration. Is there anything you can say about efforts to get them out? And was the UN vehicle that was on the way to the European hospital part of those efforts?
So let me start with the second part. I'm not sure of the operational and logistical specifics of what was involved in those specific efforts or not, but I can say is that we're aware of these reports of U.S. citizens, doctors, and medical professionals currently unable to leave Gaza. As I said before, we don't control this border crossing, and this is a incredibly complex situation that has very serious implications for the safety and security of U.S. citizens, but we're continuing to work around the clock with the government of Israel, with the government of Egypt, to work on this issue, not just to address the very serious humanitarian assistance concerns that I just talked about. But as you so pointed out, and Matt have addressed before, Rafah is a conduit for the safe departure of foreign nationals, which is why we continue to want to see it get opened as swiftly as possible.
And what does it say about conditions more generally in Rafah and in Khan Yunis if American doctors who only arrived there recently are already suffering from dehydration and malnutrition?
So look, we have not been unambiguous about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. It is a crisis. No amount of humanitarian aid at this moment is enough. We need to be doing everything we can to get more humanitarian aid, food, medicine, water, other appropriate supplies into Gaza. And that is why you have seen this administration champion really an all of the above approach when it comes to humanitarian aid. We have been engaging directly with partners in the region to ensure that every crossing possible that can allow for the access of trucks and other things is able to make its way into Gaza. You have seen us undertake airdrops. You've seen our partners in Jordan undertake airdrops, and we're continuing to press and hope that this maritime corridor is a conduit, and we believe that will be the case very soon as well.
Oh, we're doing everything that we can to ensure that the people get water and food. We're dropping food on them, sometimes literally even crushing them under it when we drop it. We've built a floating pier, and we're going to start delivering aid that way. All they need to do is just stop the weapons to Israel. Just pressure them. And instead, Joe Biden and his administration and all of the bought-off politicians in our government are continuing to fund them, continuing to send the weapons, absolutely, completely complicit in a genocide that is happening. And now doctors, as Ryan stated, these doctors just got there. These American doctors, they just got there, and they're already dying of dehydration. One of them's on an IV drip at this point to prevent themselves from dehydration. So what about the rest of the Palestinians who've been there in these conditions for 7 months? Goes on to say in this piece, Monica Johnston, a nurse volunteering at the hospital, said that a primary concern of those who will be leaving is that new humanitarian workers will be allowed in. Otherwise, the hospital campus is more likely to get overrun by the IDF. So what they're afraid of is that if these medics leave, that and leave the people there by themselves, leave the Palestinians there by themselves. If these foreign workers, if they leave, that the IDF is going to just completely overrun the place and shut it down like they did Al Shifa. That's what they've been saying. So the humanitarian the thing is that the American doctors, they believe them. They know this. They're seeing it with their own eyes. So they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave because they don't want the hospital to end up getting shut down by the IDF. They know that they'll do that because they're genocidal maniacs. Goes on to say, this is where it gets really absolutely unbelievable. Monica Johnston, the nurse volunteering, said that the plan is for the UN to do a test run from the hospital to the border on Tuesday, only carrying UN staff. So what they're wanting to do is do a trade of medics. They want to take the current medics out and bring new ones in. So the plan is they're going to do a test run with just UN staff. We're going to go from the hospital to the border and back. And she says if those staff are not killed by the IDF, then on Wednesday, 2 medical staff will be taken to the border and 2 new volunteers will be allowed to replace them, and so on in the coming days. What? So they're saying, okay, we're going to do a test run, and if you're not killed, UN workers, if you're not killed by the IDF, then we could start actually transferring medics. What the hell? That is unbelievable. But there's no genocide. Don't you understand? There's no genocide going on. There's no genocide yet. A bunch of Israeli, even high up cabinet members marched in this. They did this march for Independence Day, and they said the only way to handle what is happening with Gaza is what they're calling the true solution. Literally from their mouths, they're calling it a true solution, not the final solution. They of course can't use that framing. I mean, that would be just a little bit too obvious. Instead, they're using the true solution. Here's the story from Haaretz. Thousands of Israelis joined a far-right Independence Day march on Tuesday in the South, led by Jewish activists advocating for resettling Gaza and forcing Palestinians to leave the enclave. The march was supported by lawmakers speaking at the event. So this isn't just radicals on the internet on 8chan. These are people inside the Netanyahu cabinet. Two cabinet members, Communications Minister Shlomo Kari, who's a member of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party, and National Security Minister Itmar Ben-Gvir, of course. In order, quote, in order to preserve the security achievements that our soldiers lost their lives for, we must resettle Gaza with security forces and settlers that will embrace the land with love, Kari said. He said that this is the only real way to make the Hamas Nazis pay a price and to defend our nation and our country. Ben-Gvir also spoke at the march, saying that what the protesters are calling for was the true solution. But it's not a genocide. It's not. Oh, you crazy people think it is a genocide. How could you just gobble up all that fake news when their ministers are telling you, they're not saying it's a genocide. They're saying it's a true solution. Don't you know the difference? The true solution where they're going to expel all the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip, take the land, which, by the way, historically was never Israel. When they talk about, oh, we're going to go back to our historic homeland, the land that God gave us. Yeah, Gaza, look at the biblical maps, was never part of that. Gaza, never part of the biblical homeland, never was a part of the kingdom of Israel for any of the iterations of the kingdom of Israel thousands of years ago. It just never was part of it, but they're going to take it anyway. They're going to take it anyway. The true solution. This is why Egypt has joined in with South Africa, saying it is a genocide. Egypt. Now, this was really shocking. It's one thing for other countries to join in. South Africa, we had Nicaragua. There were some other countries around the world that were saying, hey, we're not really comfortable with what's going on there. We think that there might be a genocide. We want Israel to be really scrutinized and looked at. But when Egypt joined in, this was something different. This was something big. Egypt is the second largest. Well, besides, with Ukraine, things have changed because of Ukraine, but Egypt was previously, before Ukraine, the second largest recipient of American aid. Part of that aid came with, you just keep your mouth shut and do what we want. You're going to make nice with Israel. You're going to try to normalize relations with Israel. They're going to give you back some of the land that they took previously. And, you're just going to keep your mouth shut and try to make nice. Well, Egypt is no longer making nice. They are no longer making nice now that Israel has taken that Rafah crossing and has halted all aid in, and is now killing American doctors through dehydration. Egypt has said enough is enough, and they have joined in saying that Israel is committing a genocide. Now, Egypt would know. Egypt would know because they're right there on the border. They're watching it happen with their own eyes, and they're saying, this is wrong. It's not just wrong. This is not just a humanitarian crisis. This is a genocide, is what Egypt is accusing Israel of now. Cairo's foreign ministry declared Egypt's intention to join the lawsuit on Sunday. In a statement over the exacerbating gravity and scope of Israeli atrocities against Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip and the continued perpetuation of systematic practices against the Palestinian people. That's what they said in this declaration. They're accusing Israel of targeting civilians, destroying Gazan infrastructure, displacing Palestinians, leading to an unprecedented human crisis in violation of international law, international humanitarian law, and the Geneva Convention article related to the protection of civilians in times of war. So they're joining in. They've said, we are going to join in with South Africa. We believe that they are committing a genocide. And here's all of the evidence that we have. And Israel would have even more evidence. Now, South Africa had quite a bit of standing because South Africa just came out of apartheid. So they're looking at Israel and Palestine, and they're saying, we know an apartheid when we see one. We know human rights abuses when we see them because we experienced it. Now, Egypt is saying, we know because we're watching it happen right on our border. We're seeing them block the aid trucks. We're seeing their violent mobs defended and protected by the IDF, destroying aid, burning it, lighting it on fire. We're seeing this with our own eyes. We see what they're doing to these people with our own eyes, and we're joining in saying this is a genocide. This is not some woke liberal ideology funded by George Soros. That is the narrative that's going around in the right-wing circles, Fox News and others that are trying to blame this on just ultra woke liberalism. How can you say that when South Africa and now Egypt have joined in and said, this is wrong. We don't care what the consequences are from the United States or the West. We're going to speak up and say this is wrong. When you've got American doctors who are dying of dehydration in Gaza, the doctor that saved Senator Tammy Duckworth's life in war in Iraq, and you're going to say that this is some woke liberalism? I mean, come on, guys. It's what it is it's a genocide. They are explicitly stating it in their marches that they're looking for a true solution. A true solution. Thinking that we would be so dumb not to equate true solution with final solution, like our brains can't comprehend. Okay, okay. But they do. They think we're that stupid, and the problem is, so many are. A lot of people just gobble up whatever they're told. They're told, "Look, it's not a genocide. We just want the true solution. We just want to get rid of all these people." But that's not a genocide. How could you think that's a genocide? And there's unfortunately a lot of people who say, "You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's not. It's not. It's a true solution. It's totally different than the final solution." Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson show, which you could catch just by heading to that link down below, KimIversonShow.com. You can watch the full show from what you just watched, or you could catch the full show live Monday through Friday, live streams, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you then. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Never miss an episode. Never miss a clip. Never miss a segment. Thanks, guys.